Take the storm we had Tuesday night, shrink it by a couple of hours, paste it into Friday night. That's our storm. Meteorologist Joe Martucci here. This is what our radar could look like at 3 a.m. on Saturday. And here's our sustained winds, 25 to 40 miles an hour, and what looks to be nearly a repeat of what we just saw here. Now, remember, last storm, we had our highest wind gust be 72 miles an hour. We had areas of roadway flooding, coastal flooding, and with the power outages, we had about 37,000 AC electric customers without power. We're going to do that part again, or at least the potential for that again. The good news with this is that the rain should not be as significant. So the flooding rain is just possible locally. Not a definite, but possible locally. We have a wind advisory in effect for everywhere southeast of the turnpike. Winds will howl. This is to highlight the potential for nuisance level winds, but I do still believe there will be some areas of wind damage and power outages as we go into our Friday night. Now you look at our clouds and radar over the past couple of hours and you say, geez, Joe, it doesn't look like we have a storm really anywhere. There's not anything that looks too scary, but it is in the southern Rockies, and what's going to happen is this storm will rapidly intensify as it goes east and then cuts to the north and east into the Great Lakes, putting us on the eastern and warmer side of it. Let's take a look at tonight. It's a pretty seasonal night. In fact, temperatures are a couple degrees above average, around 30 inland, 35 for Atlantic City and the coast. We go to tomorrow. It's a dry day. So if you want to do something in Hamilton, do it. If you want to maybe take a stroll along the boardwalk or along the promenade in Sea Isle City, you're okay. But that rain will start between 7 to 9 p.m. on Friday here, and it quickly intensifies. It's a windswept rain as we go overnight. Then as we get into early Saturday, you see this kind of line. It's a southwest and northeastward running line of heavy rain. That's the cold front. That will bring the end to the rain as it passes, with just a lingering shower into early on our Saturday morning here. Some strong winds will continue into the day, but it's not going to be as strong as what we could be talking about Friday night, where wind gusts up to 70 miles an hour will be possible again. I don't think the winds as a whole will be as strong. You take a look at these winds a half mile high, 80 miles an hour is the max. Last storm, we had 90 miles an hour max. So not all of this gets translated down to the surface, but I do believe there is the potential for 70 and a number of spots to be at least over 55 miles an hour as we go into our Friday night. Here's a look at our rainfall totals. Generally 3/4 of an inch to 1.25 inches. Yeah, that's a lot of rain, but compared to the past 5 storms we've seen, that's not all that much here. And I do believe, thankfully, the flooding rain risk will not be that significant. Now, tidal flooding will be similar to what we had Tuesday night to Wednesday. That means Atlantic, Cape May, Monmouth counties, you're in minor flood stage, the typical kind of flooding we see a few dozen times a year. But in the Barnegat Bay and in the Delaware Bay, water is going to pile right up into those bays because of the way the wind is blowing, coming out of the south-southeast. It's going to stay there, and as we go into high tide on Saturday morning, I do believe we're in moderate flood stage, even though winds will be from the offshore direction. Here's what Ocean City looks like in minor flood stage. Here's a look at what Manahawkin looks like in moderate flood stage. It's going to be tough in Ocean County to get around the islands as we go into our Saturday morning, and on some of those bayside roadways inland as well, and travel between Route 37, from Seaside onto the mainland will be tough. Same thing with Route 72 down in LBI. And the hits keep coming. We get colder as we go into the weekend. We haven't had a lot of cold air lately, but it's cold as we go into the weekend here. A blast of Arctic air will move in. Some places in the northern plains will have wind chills below 30 degrees during the day. We won't have that, but it'll get cold, and we will have a nor'easter come as we go into Tuesday. Here's scenario 1. It's a stronger storm. It stays closer to the coast where primarily rain, probably some back-end snow, but primarily rain. Scenario 2 is a weaker storm, but it's more offshore, so we get more of that mix or all snow, but we're not going to see those significant totals. We'll have plenty of time to dissect this, but that's what I'm thinking for now. Here's a look at our inland 7-day forecast. It's a windy weekend. It gets progressively colder. Monday, how about 34 for a high temperature on MLK Day? Then we have that storm. Depending on the scenario, the storm depends on how much snow or rain or mix we see, and also our temperatures. If it stays closer to the coast, you can add another 10 degrees to our temperatures. Right now, I'm forecasting as if we have that colder solution, and you see it does get cold even beyond that into Wednesday and Thursday.